We're joined now by Microsoft President and Chief Legal Officer Brad Smith. Thanks so much for joining us, Brad. Now, you published a blog post yesterday calling this a, quote, moment of reckoning and writing, "This is not espionage as usual, even in the digital age. Instead, it represents an act of recklessness that created a serious technological vulnerability for the United States and the world." Just explain why this attack was on a different scale than what we've seen before and the unique challenge that this poses for the U.S. going forward.
Well, it was both extraordinarily sophisticated and extremely broad, because what the attacker did was put malware into the legitimate software of a network management company, and then when that company distributed updates, it literally went to 18,000 or so customers all around the world. So think of it as disrupting the technology supply chain, and then it put at risk the security of all 18,000 of these organizations. And then the actor was able to pick and choose among these 18,000 which to then go in and disrupt further, which it did. And while it's early days of the investigation, we at Microsoft have already identified more than 40 organizations around the world, 80% of them in the United States, including a number of critical parts of the federal government.
Now, sources have told ABC News that this breach went undetected for 6 months. Why were the hackers able to evade detection for that long? And when did Microsoft first identify a potential vulnerability around SolarWinds?
Well, I think we identified it as we all focused at the same time as everybody else. I think it was an attack of extraordinarily sophisticated software, in effect. You know, it was a smart engineering move. It builds on what we saw in Ukraine 3 years ago in the NotPetya attack. But generally, the world has come together and said that espionage is espionage, but it shouldn't tamper with legitimate products this way. I think the lesson is, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to live with any comfort that certain governments around the world are going to follow the rules in this space.
To what extent did access through SolarWinds allow attackers to access Microsoft systems and those of Microsoft's clients?
Well, the good news from our vantage point is that while we did detect a few instances where there was this software on our computers, our network is structured in such a way that things are very isolated, kept separate from each other. We have the kinds of sophisticated defenses in place that you would expect of a company like ours. And so we've seen no indication that any of our products or services were compromised. We've seen no indication that any of our products or services were then used to try to attack someone else. We're still reviewing this, but that is the way it looks right now.
And of course, Microsoft has been at the forefront of helping to track and stop bad actors in cyberspace, including in election protection efforts this year. Is this attack something that should have been detected sooner, or were the methods used too sophisticated to detect as they were happening?
Well, we have more than 500 security engineers working this week with parts of the U.S. government, with others. I think the real lesson for us is we cannot afford to allow these kinds of attacks to go undetected in the future. So regardless of what we make of the past, this is that moment of reckoning. We need to apply the lessons learned. And certainly one of the lessons learned, in our view, is the need to take a new approach, if you will, to the sharing of threat intelligence data, not just across every part of the federal government, but with the private sector and technology companies that play such a key role. And that we need to build on that greater threat intelligence capability with stronger laws, more multilateral action between the U.S. and its allies to hold these kinds of foreign actors accountable with the kinds of consequences that will better advance peace and stability in the world.
We thank you so much for your time, Brad Smith. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.